Hi, everyone. My name is Scott Smith, and I'm the Communications Officer for the ABC Unified School District, and I'm joined today by our Superintendent, Dr. Mary Sieu, to share a few thoughts and give an update really about what's been happening at the ABC Unified School District over the last month since we closed schools. Can you believe that? It's been just over a month since we closed schools, Dr. Sieu. It's been a hectic month, that is for sure, to say the least. So how are you feeling about things?
Well, we are going through some of the most unprecedented times in our lifetime, I'm sure, for all of us. And although I'm feeling very good about what our district has done during the time since we've been off of or out of school for the last month, I just feel very strong about the direction that we've been taking, as well as we know that there will be many things that we'll need to refine as we go through different phases of this that we're initiating at this time. But I do know that I feel like, we've done a good job so far.
That's good. Yeah, I've been so impressed by the diligent work of our staff. It's and students. Everybody is involved, and everybody's pitching in. As someone who's relatively new to the district, it's been great. It's been great to see. So, speaking over this last month, what has the district done? I know there's a lot of challenges that we've had to face, but can you give us just a quick summary?
Sure. I just feel like the moment that the board authorized me to approve of closing or dismissing our schools on March the 13th, I think we already had a plan in mind, knowing that this was anticipated to perhaps happen. At first, it was for 2 weeks. And then later on, when we extended it to May the 5th, we recognized that we were in complete alignment with Governor Newsom, as well as our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, and of course, our superintendent of Los Angeles County Office of Education, Dr. Deborah Eduardo. We were in complete alignment that we would have to close schools for the remainder of this year. And as a result of that, I think that there would have been so many activities during this past month that we've been off, that we've been able to at least start working on. We anticipated some of these things from happening. For example, during this past month, on March the 16th, we trained many of our teachers who are at different levels in the online learning at home program. And that was important for us because we felt that for many of the teachers, they were all at different levels, but at least they had a concept of how to implement it while students were going to be learning from home. And so in addition to that, we were able to provide over 5,000 devices, as well as 1,000 hotspots, and this is to access the internet at home, so that, again, these were, of course, at no charge to the families and the students who were able to take these devices and the hotspots home. But that was important for us, that they had access to the programs as well. And in addition to that, one of the other things that was very important for us, because over 51% of our students are from low-income families, and so we recognized that food and meals was a big priority for us. And so we established originally where all sites were able to provide a grab-and-go meal, but then we had to reduce that number of sites to 10 more recently, and having it being able to be provided at these 10 sites. And just for example, before our spring break, we were able to offer 17,000 grab and go meals for our students. And so that's an enormous amount of energy that I have to really thank our staff from nutrition services, our SIAs, as well as our paraeducators who all supported these efforts in these 10 sites. And so a lot has been going on throughout this time during this past month. But here's the important thing to remember as well. I don't think that we could have really launched our online learning at home program without the board supporting our efforts for the past 5 years. We've had our increments of adding devices to our schools, and so we knew we were at a one-to-one capacity in all of our schools as of today. But without that support from our Board of Education to expand our efforts with technology, as well as having technology assistance and technology support for the learning at home, this would not have been possible. And so that's why I thought that in addition to the Google Classroom that most of our students are involved with, this is something that has been taking place in all of our schools for many years now. And so the effort to implement this program, whether it's in English language arts, in math, science, history, social science, all of these things have already been in place with the adapted materials that we have purchased alongside with the devices. These have already been in place for several years now. And so the transition to an online learning at home program, I think was easy to set up because many of the teachers were already very much involved with implementing it in their own classrooms already.
Mm-hmm. That was an amazing feat in and of itself, but it's one that really prepared us for this. You're right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So as we're moving through the school year in a different fashion, we have a group of seniors who will be graduating. And I know at the last Board of Education meeting, we heard from many of our high school seniors who are concerned about graduation. And I know this touches you deeply and you're really concerned about them. What would you like to say to them?
Well, first of all, I know that we heard very well from the students who did speak. I think there were over 30 public comments that were made by seniors in the class of 2020. I think with the Board of Education, and I heard them very well. They spoke from their hearts, and we were very delighted that they were able to share as openly as they did. But we recognize that what we're doing right now in terms of the social distancing efforts, as well as the protective gear that many of our family and their staff members have to incorporate into their own work, for example, many of these things we do have to take into consideration. And so we know that we would like to be able to say to our class of 2020, not only the seniors, but also their families, many family members, this is a very important milestone in their lifetime. And so I recognize that it's important to say that we will probably do a little bit of both, that on the actual day of their graduation, we would try to have a virtual graduation to a degree, and then also to talk a little bit about postponing the actual physical graduation and in-person graduation to a degree later on in the new school year. Maybe it'll be in July, maybe it will be in the fall, but many of these things are conditional to what our Governor Newsom is going to be responsible for in terms of, where we are as a state, where we are as a county as well. And so those are the things that I'm very careful about making sure that we will be able to honor, of course, all of the students in the class of 2020. As a matter of fact, just to let you know that, many of the students at Artesia High School, for example, They already have big giant posters and signs on their lawns to say they are the class of 2020. And we want to be able to recognize them in various ways that, that are going to be creative and innovative at this time. But we are looking at trying to do a little bit of both at this time.
It's tough because we want to keep our students safe. As you've told me many times, the health and safety of our students is number one.
It is.
So we have to stick with that. It's hard. I have two seniors, one in high school and one in college, and it's going to be different for them this year too. I know that.
I know.
It is. It's tough.
We're going to be creative. We're going to be creative because we also have, many of our, we have a committee of people already looking into this, the series of options that we have available. We have both principals represented as well as district staff, but we also surveyed over 1,700 seniors in the class of 2020 to ask them what is it that they would like to see happen for their class this year. And so we did get the response back, and we're just definitely going to take in consideration all of these factors.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot to consider. There really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's speaking, kind of going along those lines. What would you like to share with our students and our families about everything that's taken place over the last month as they have transitioned, like we all have, to working from home? You and I are both working from home right now, and the kids are learning from home. What would you like to share with them?
I think it's important that they also feel that they are supported by all of us in the district. And when I say that, I hope that they are able to continue their learning from home. That's important, that they continue to log in their classrooms every day during the remainder of the school year. But I also want to say that, in this crisis that we're in right now, I know it too will pass. It will pass. And it's important to recognize that, the families that we serve, the communities that we serve, it's important for them to recognize that we are going to work together on all of these issues. And we have a hotline, as you well know, that people can call in and to just make sure that people are aware that they can have their answers responded to within the next 24 hours. It's important that people recognize that we continue to support them, whether they're in our classrooms or whether they're at home learning continuously. So I hope that people recognize that.
I hope so too. I know, again, our staff is working hard. Our teachers have been just amazing in developing online curriculum, and our academic services folks, our IT folks. It truly takes a lot of folks just to transition from the in-classroom learning experience to online.
And I recognize too that, for example, many of our staff members are also parents, and they're sort of doing double duty at home, whether they're teachers or whether they work in nutrition services. Many of them also have their own children at home, and so I can imagine that the challenge it would be to try to accommodate both issues. And I just recognize, how challenging that must be for everyone at this time.
That is true. They're now not just teachers; they're principals of their own homeschool.
That's right.
Yeah, it is tough. It really is. As we kind of wind down here, what kind of final thoughts do you have that you'd like to share with the ABC community?
Well, I think, as I mentioned again, I know that if we collaboratively work on many of these issues together, it's important, whether it's within the communities that we serve. We've had tremendous resources from the communities that we serve. And so I just recognize that it's important that we have to make sure that we are working together on these issues that we have that are going to be a challenge for many of us in the future.
A lot of challenges ahead. A lot of challenges ahead, and with this team in place, I know we'll do amazing things to meet those challenges.
But I have to also share, Scott, that I am an eternal optimist. And I know that, as I mentioned earlier, that this crisis will pass, but I recognize that it's important that we work on these very issues together and collaboratively moving forward.
And this is a collaborative environment, and I really appreciate that. Well, thank you, Dr. Sieu. I've really appreciated this time that you've made, and I know that the community and our students and our parents, our families, our staff, our teachers, I'm sure they'd love to hear from you too. So this has been great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. Take care.